"We can't buy this bike this birthday." Noon, the CEO surprised the single mom's son. A little boy can't breathe. His small hands scratch at the air as he collapses beside a red bike lying in the grass. His mother screams for help, but she's frozen by fear. A man in a sharp suit drops to his knees, desperate, pressing an inhaler to the boy's mouth. One short puff, then another. Nothing. The boy's eyes roll back. A loud sound sting hits as the ambulance siren grows louder. The man's voice breaks. "Not again. Please, not again." His heart crashes with a memory he's been running from for years. He couldn't save his own brother. Now this child's life is in his hands. Will he make it in time? Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. The day began with laughter from other kids racing past on shiny new bikes. Will pressed his face against the bike shop window, staring at a bright red BMX with wide tires and silver handlebars that looked like they could fly. His breath fogged the glass as he whispered, "That one, Mom. That one." Serena stood behind him, clutching her purse as if it could magically fill with money. Her work uniform smelled like coffee and cleaning spray. Every hour she worked still wasn't enough. "Sweetheart, we can't buy this bike this birthday," she said softly. The moment the words left her mouth, Will's shoulders fell. His bottom lip wobbled. "But you promised," he whispered. Serena's throat tightened. I know I did." She crouched down to him. "Mommy is trying." Will's eyes filled with tears. A couple nearby glanced over, then looked away fast, pretending not to see a mother breaking down. Serena hated this. She hated that his dreams had price tags she couldn't meet. She hated that he had to pretend he didn't care at school when everyone talked about their gifts. Will wiped his face with his sleeve and stepped away from the window. "It's okay," he mumbled, but it wasn't. He looked 6, going on 60. Serena took his hand. "We'll figure something out," she whispered. She didn't know how. She turned him toward the exit, but Will looked back one last time at the red bike. The sun bounced off the metal frame like it was mocking them. And that's when a man stepped into the moment. Martin stood a few feet away, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit that cost more than Serena earned in a month. His hair was neat, his watch gleamed, and everything about him screamed success and control. But his eyes told another story. They stayed fixed on Will and that bike. Serena noticed him staring. "We're leaving," she said quickly, pulling her son closer. She didn't want pity, but Martin wasn't thinking about pity. He was thinking about another boy, a memory, a loud impact. A bicycle wheel is still spinning on asphalt. His brother's laugh turned into silence. Martin forced air into his lungs and took a step forward. "Excuse me," he said. Serena turned sharply. Her first instinct was to protect Will. "We're okay," she said, already defensive. Martin nodded but didn't walk away. I'd like to buy that bike for him." Will's eyes widened. He looked up at his mother as if he had just met a real-life superhero. Serena clenched her jaw. "We don't take handouts." She stood taller even though exhaustion pulled her shoulders down. She had worked too hard to feel small. Martin swallowed. "This isn't charity," he said quietly. I'd like to help." "Why?" she asked immediately. A single word, sharp as a knife. He froze. Why? Because seeing Will cry felt like watching his brother die all over again. Because he'd spent years buying things that made him feel nothing. Because maybe if he did this right, just this once, he could breathe again. But he couldn't say any of that. Because birthdays should feel like birthdays, he said instead. A weak but honest truth. Serena looked down at Will. His eyes begged without a sound. She sighed. "Fine," she whispered, barely audible. "Just don't make a big deal out of it." Martin's entire body relaxed, and he immediately walked to the store counter. "We'd like the red BMX in the window," he told the cashier. Will ran to the glass again, watching as the bike was rolled out toward the register. When the cashier asked for a name for the redemption paperwork, Martin hesitated only a second before writing his number on the back and sliding the receipt into Serena's hand. "If anything happens to the bike, call me. I'll take care of it," he said. Serena stared at the paper. His name looked like it belonged on magazine covers. Will ran out of the store, pushing the bike with pure joy. He laughed, loud and free. The kind of sound that wakes up something sleeping inside people. "Thank you," Will shouted. His small voice echoed across the sidewalk. Martin smiled. He didn't even remember the last time he'd smiled without forcing it. "You're welcome," he said. Serena approached slowly. "I still don't understand why you do something like this," she said, still guarded. Martin looked at her. Really looked. He saw the exhaustion, the fierce love, the way she kept standing even when the world shoved her down. "It's just a bike," he said, though he knew it was much more than that. Serena gave a small nod. Gratitude and discomfort tangled together in her eyes. "We should get going," she said and guided Will away. Martin stood there a moment longer, watching them walk down the sidewalk. The bike caught the noon sunlight, and Will turned around one last time to wave. Martin raised his hand in return. Then they vanished around the corner. But the scene stayed with him. That night, while top executives emailed him numbers and problems, while his penthouse sat quiet and spotless, while the city lights glowed beneath his window, all he could think about was Will's face lighting up like someone flipped a switch in his soul. He tried to sleep. He couldn't. His mind replayed the moment Serena said, "We don't take handouts." She was proud, strong, and she looked tired in a way money couldn't fix. Martin sat up in bed. He rubbed his forehead, frustrated with himself. "Why do I care?" he muttered. He knew the answer. He just didn't want to face it. The next day during his morning briefing, he stared at the presentation screen, but he didn't hear a word. Numbers blurred. Voices faded. His assistant asked a question. Martin blinked and shook his head. "Reschedule everything this afternoon," he ordered. "Sir, you have board meetings." "I said reschedule." Martin left the building before anyone could argue. He drove to the small park near the bike shop. He didn't know if Will would be there. He didn't even know if visiting was appropriate. But he needed to see for himself, needed proof that the joy he saw wasn't gone. As he turned the corner, he spotted them. Serena sitting on a bench with a worn-out paperback in her hands. Will pedaling in small circles on his new bike, laughing with a loud, bright freedom. Martin stopped walking. He felt something shift inside his chest. Something he hadn't felt in years. Will saw him first. "Hey, it's the bike man," he shouted, pedaling toward him. Serena looked up, surprised. Cautious again. "You came back," she said. Not angry, not happy, just trying to understand. Martin shoved his hands in his pockets. I was in the area, he lied poorly. Will jumped off the bike and grabbed Martin's sleeve. Watch what I can do, he said. Without waiting, he rushed off again, wobbling a little but determined. Martin watched with a mix of pride and dread. Every bump in the path made his heart jump. Every fast turn brought back the sound of metal scraping pavement and a scream he couldn't forget. Serena noticed. You're nervous, she said. Martin nodded. He's fearless. He has to be, she replied quietly. Martin glanced at her. There was more in that sentence. More than she was ready to share with a stranger. They stayed there for a long moment, watching Will. Slowly, the tension eased. Serena set her book aside. Martin sat down on the bench. Will kept riding, his laughter filling the park like a song. And right then, Martin knew for sure. He wasn't walking away from this. He couldn't. He didn't want to. Every weekend after that first meeting, Martin found himself driving back to the same small park, a place he had never noticed before but now couldn't ignore. His driver questioned the sudden schedule change. His assistant complained about constantly shifting meetings. The board whispered about distractions. But none of those things mattered to him anymore. The moment he saw Will's small hands grip those silver handlebars and push forward, everything made sense in his head again. The first Saturday started with cautious smiles. Serena brought sandwiches in a plastic lunchbox. Will wore a helmet that looked slightly too big. Martin arrived in casual clothes for the first time anyone in his company would have believed possible. Sneakers and a simple jacket. He looked like a man trying to remember how to relax. Will rode small loops while Martin jogged beside him. Not too fast, Martin warned every time the bike's speed picked up. Will laughed and ignored him. You're too serious, he shouted. Then he skidded to a stop in front of Martin. You need a fun name, he said. Mr. Martin sounds like homework. A fun name? Martin asked, surprised. Yeah, Will insisted. He tapped his chin in deep thought. Coach. You look like a coach. Martin blinked. He hadn't coached anyone in his life. But the title hit him harder than he expected. Coach meant trust. Coach meant someone to follow. Coach meant he mattered. Coach it is, Martin said, smiling as the words settled inside him. From that moment forward, Will called him Coach like it was the only name he ever had. Serena watched from the bench, her eyes sharp but soft. She kept a close guard on her gratitude. She thanked Martin when she needed to, but she didn't let the thank you turn into dependence. She was learning what it meant to accept help without surrendering dignity. The next weekend, Will showed off new tricks, lifting the front wheel, turning without stopping, ringing the bike bell like a victory horn. Martin clapped every time, cheering more loudly than the parents of the other kids. He bought Will a set of knee pads and fingerless gloves. You didn't have to, Serena said again and again. I know, he replied every time. And he did know. That was what made him keep doing it. He also noticed something Serena tried to pretend wasn't happening. After just a few minutes of riding, Will would start breathing harder than a healthy kid should. At first, Martin brushed it off as excitement. Kids get tired. Kids push themselves too much. But then Will began taking longer breaks, sitting down suddenly, holding his chest as if trying to ease something tight inside. Need a rest? Martin asked gently. No, Will insisted, forcing a grin. I'm strong. I'm fast. But when Will turned away, Martin saw the fear he tried to hide. His breaths came sharp and quick. Serena carried an inhaler everywhere, watching closely with worry she tried to swallow down. Martin hated that reminder. The reminder that Will wasn't invincible. The reminder that joy could vanish without warning. The reminder of a road, a crash, and a brother whose heart stopped while Martin cried beside him, helpless. Even so, he came back the next weekend. And the next. Serena started bringing an extra sandwich and a bottle of water for him. "You might as well eat," she said, acting annoyed. But Martin saw the small smile she tried to bury. He started opening up, too, in small ways. He confessed that he never had time for hobbies. That he didn't remember the last time he rode a bike. That family for him was a painful word. Serena listened without pressing for details. She didn't ask about the source of the pain. She didn't ask why his voice cracked when Will fell and scraped a knee. She saw enough to know the wound was real. They began talking during Will's bike breaks. Not small talk, real things. Serena shared how she worked 2 jobs because daycare was expensive and she refused to leave Will alone. How she dreamed of going back to school someday, but life canceled her plans one bill at a time. She had no time for dating because every man she'd tried to trust had walked away when things got hard. Martin listened. No judgment. No pity. Just focus. He admired her strength more each time she spoke. She admired that he never talked to her like a project to fix. One Saturday afternoon, after a full hour of riding, Will suddenly slowed. He leaned forward on the bike frame, panting, his chest jerking with uneven breaths. Serena dropped her book and rushed to him. "Inhaler," she whispered, pulling it from her purse with practiced hands. Will took 2 quick puffs. His breathing stayed ragged for longer than usual. Martin knelt beside him, hands cold. Will forced a smile through his short breaths. "I'm okay," he insisted again. Martin felt his stomach twist. His brain replayed a moment he could never erase, the night his brother wheezed through his last attempt at breathing. The terror of watching life slip away because help came too late. The sound of a body going still. Martin had spent years burying that memory. But Will's gasps dragged it out like it had been waiting outside the door all this time. Serena pulled Will into her arms. "Take a minute," she whispered, rubbing his back. "You're all right. You're all right." Her voice shook even though she refused to cry. Martin stood slowly, gripping the handlebars of Will's bike to steady himself. "He needs a doctor," he said. "A real specialist. Someone who can make sure this doesn't get worse." Serena's eyes flashed with resistance. "We're managing," she answered sharply. "That didn't look like managing," he replied. She held his gaze, torn between pride and fear. Finally, she looked away. "The doctors cost more than I make," she admitted, barely above a whisper. Martin understood then. Fear wasn't the problem. Money was the cage. "We can fix that," he said. "Let me help find the right care." Serena shook her head. "You bought him a bike. That was already too much. I can't keep taking from you." Martin stepped closer. "You're not taking anything. I'm offering because I want to. Will deserves help." He paused. "You deserve help." She stared at him, shocked by the honesty in his voice. Shocked that a man who looked so put together could speak like he had something to lose. Will interrupted their silent battle by tugging Martin's sleeve. "Coach," he whispered, still catching his breath. "Don't worry. I'm tougher than I look." Martin knelt to meet his eye level. "That's what scares me," he said softly. "Brave kids take the biggest risks." Will leaned forward and gave him a quick hug. It was unexpected, spontaneous and real. Martin froze for a moment, then slowly wrapped his arms around the little boy. Will pulled away and grinned, looking proud of himself for surprising the grown-up. Martin felt that hug hours later. It stayed with him on the drive home. It stayed with him when he tried to read emails. It stayed with him in bed as the city lights flickered through the curtains. The next morning, Martin arrived early. Serena didn't hide her surprise. "You're really showing up," she said. He thought about that sentence all day. Yes, he was showing up. For once in his life, he was choosing something other than himself. They spent the day in a weird but comfortable rhythm. Will rode slower because of yesterday's scare. Martin kept his hand hovering close to the seat just in case. Serena watched them, a tiny smile appearing whenever she thought no one could see. That night, Martin checked his phone more times than he cared to admit. He waited for a message he had no reason to expect. But when his screen lit up after midnight, his breath caught. "Will can't breathe. Which hospital do I go to?" The short text carried raw panic in every letter. Martin didn't hesitate. He sent an address instantly and called his driver. He slipped into the back seat and slammed the door shut as if any second wasted added danger. He arrived at the hospital seconds before Serena's rideshare. She rushed out holding Will in her arms. His breathing rattled harshly. Martin sprinted forward and lifted the boy gently into his arms. Will clutched his shirt, gasping for air. Hospital doors slid open. Nurses ran over. Forms were shoved into Serena's hands. Machines beeped as Will was taken in. Serena stood frozen, fear smothering her voice. Martin placed his hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone," he promised. He didn't break eye contact. He didn't waver. For the first time since she met him, Serena believed him fully. And that changed everything. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and fear. Will lie on a small bed, an oxygen mask covering his nose and mouth. His chest moved in uneven pulls as the machine hissed beside him. Serena stood frozen at the foot of the bed, her fists clenched so tight her nails dug into her palms. Her lips moved like she wanted to pray, but no words came out. Martin stood beside her, silent, refusing to step back. He watched every monitor, every flicker of Will's heartbeat on the screen. He felt like a weak link in a chain that had to hold strong. He wasn't used to feeling powerless. Power was his language. Control was his air. But here, in this room, none of that mattered. A doctor entered with a tablet in hand. "His asthma is severe," she said, voice brisk and clinical. The attack could have been fatal without a quick response. Serena covered her mouth with both hands. Martin swallowed hard as the doctor continued. "He needs long-term care, specialized treatment, possibly daily medication to prevent situations like this." Serena stepped forward. "How much?" she asked, her voice already breaking. The doctor hesitated. "We'll have estimates by morning." That meant expensive. Too expensive. Serena nodded without emotion, but tears finally spilled. She turned away so Will wouldn't see. Martin faced the doctor. "Do whatever he needs," he said. "No delays." Serena spun toward him. "Stop," she snapped. "You can't keep stepping in." Martin didn't raise his voice. "I'm not stepping in. I'm making sure he can breathe." "He's my son," Serena said, as if he'd forgotten. "My responsibility." "You're doing everything you can," he said softly. "Let me do what I can, too." The doctor cleared her throat, sensing tension. "I'll give you a moment," she said and slipped out. Serena didn't move. Her shoulders rose and fell with each shaky breath. I can't afford any of this. I can barely afford rent. I've been behind on bills for months. They keep threatening to cut the power. She swiped angrily at a tear. And what? Some rich stranger swoops in and saves the day. She shook her head. Life doesn't work like that. Martin looked at her carefully. Then maybe it should. She stared at him like she wasn't sure if he was real. Then she whispered, "Why do you care so much?" His eyes shifted to Will. "Because he matters." Serena didn't reply. She didn't know what to do with a man who meant his words. The night dragged into morning. Martin stayed awake in the chair, refusing to go home. Serena dozed off in short bursts, jerking awake whenever a machine beeped. Nurses checked Will's oxygen. New medications were hung on hooks. Hours passed like a slow storm. Near dawn, Will opened his eyes. His breathing was still rough, but he managed a tiny smile behind the mask when he saw Martin and Serena still there. Martin leaned over. "Hey, champ," he whispered. "You scared us." Will reached for Martin's hand. His small fingers wrapped around Martin's thumb. Serena watched, surprised at how natural it looked. Later that morning, the doctor returned with details. "He needs a treatment plan," she explained. "Specialists, home equipment, dietary support, a better environment for breathing. You can't control everything, but you can make things easier for him." Serena felt like the world was collapsing. "I don't have." "We'll handle it," Martin said firmly. Serena glared at him. "I haven't agreed to anything." Martin stepped aside with her, lowering his voice. "You don't have to fight alone. Let me help him." "You barely know us," she said. "You don't know what this means." Martin's jaw tightened. "I know what it's like to lose someone because help came too late. I won't watch that happen again." His voice cracked on the last word, a truth slipping out. Serena's anger softened just enough to let tragedy show itself. "What happened to you?" she asked, not accusing, just curious. He didn't answer. Not yet. After paperwork and consultations, Will was released with strict instructions. Serena thanked the nurses with genuine gratitude. Martin carried Will to his car because the boy's legs were still shaky. At Serena's apartment, Martin paused. The building was old. The hallway walls were cracked. The air smelled dusty. When he entered the apartment, he noticed the peeling paint, the second-hand furniture, the silent struggle in every corner. He scanned the space through a new lens, now knowing a child with breathing issues lived here. "Where does Will sleep?" he asked. "In the bedroom," Serena said quickly, defensive again. "I sleep on the couch." "It's fine." Martin shook his head. "It's not fine." He didn't say it to shame her. It was simply true. That afternoon, he made calls. Not business calls, urgent ones. He ordered medical air purifiers, dehumidifiers, allergy-conscious bedding. He arranged for an HVAC team to service the building's ventilation. He paid for everything before Serena could object. When she tried to interrupt, he held up a hand. "If you argue, you're slowing down his safety." She hated that he was right. The next evening, Martin arrived with more equipment. A small machine to monitor Will's oxygen levels, longer-lasting inhalers, medication organizers with alarms. Will watched wide-eyed as each item appeared. "Coach," he said with awe, "you're like a secret agent." Martin smirked. A very expensive one. Will giggled, his breathing still raspy but laughter unbroken. Martin also brought something less medical. A new helmet with softer padding, sturdy straps, and Will's name printed on the side in bright blue letters. "For when you're ready to ride again," he said. Will hugged him again. Longer this time. With real attachment. Serena stood back, her eyes giving away confusion, gratitude, fear, all at once. The next week brought more appointments. Martin attended every one, asking questions Serena didn't even know to ask. Doctors recognized his face from magazine covers and asked for autographs. He ignored them and focused on Will. Serena noticed how Will always looked for Martin first. How his shoulders relaxed when Martin walked in. How his laughter came easier. She also noticed how her own guard was shifting, cracking in places she didn't expect. One night after a long doctor visit, she caught Martin staring at Will as he slept. The room was dim. The machines hummed softly. "He looks peaceful," Martin whispered. Serena nodded. "He's a fighter. Always has been." Martin ran a hand through his hair. "He shouldn't have to fight this hard." Serena leaned against the doorframe. "You're giving him a chance he didn't have before." Martin didn't look away from Will. "I'm giving him a chance because I care." There it was again. That word, care. He kept saying it like it cost him something. And maybe it did. When Serena walked him to the door, she stopped him before he left. "I need to know something," she said. "Why us? Why not write a check to a charity and move on? Why stay? Why keep coming back?" Martin didn't answer right away. He stared at the floor as if searching for courage. Then he looked up, and the guarded CEO vanished from his face. "I can't explain it perfectly," he admitted. "But I see the two of you, and I feel something I haven't felt in a long time." His voice lowered. "Hope." Serena didn't speak. The hallway felt warm, too quiet. Martin took a breath. "You and Will. You make me want to show up. I choose you. That's why." Serena blinked fast. She didn't want tears to fall where he could see them. She nodded once and opened the door. "Good night, Martin," she said softly. "Good night, Serena," he replied, and left, carrying a new truth with him. A week after the crisis, Martin asked if Serena and Will could come with him somewhere important. He didn't explain further, and Serena didn't push. She only agreed because Will was bouncing excitedly, chanting, "Coach has a surprise." Martin drove them himself. No driver, no security detail, no reminders of his corporate world. The city skyline stretched tall as the car pulled into a private underground garage beneath one of the most exclusive penthouses in Chicago. Serena stared through the window, stunned. Marble walls, motion sensor lighting, silent elevators. This was a different universe. "Are you sure we're supposed to be here?" she whispered. Martin nodded once. "You're my guests." The elevator doors opened directly into a broad living space that looked like a luxury hotel lobby. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the entire city spread out like a glowing map. The room was perfect. Too perfect. No toys. No clutter. No signs a person actually lived here. Will gasped loudly. "This place looks like a superhero base." Martin gave a weak laugh. Maybe one that forgot how to be a hero. Serena looked at him, catching the quiet truth behind the joke. Will ran off to explore the open space, sliding in socks across expensive wood floors, testing every echo with a happy shout. Serena took a slow walk around the living room, taking in the minimal furniture, the polished art on the walls, the untouched kitchen counters. "It's beautiful," she said. "It's empty," Martin corrected. Serena turned to him. "You don't have people over?" He shook his head. "I don't have people." She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. After Will discovered a small balcony and pretended to fly like a comic book character, Martin finally said quietly, "There's something I haven't shown anyone in years. I think you should see it." Serena's gaze followed him as he moved down a hallway toward a closed door. Will was still exploring, his attention captured by the view. Martin stopped in front of a locked room. He rested his hand on the doorknob but didn't turn it. "My brother lived here with me," he said, voice low. "Adam. He was younger, funnier, braver. The bike we bought together was the last thing he ever rode." Serena froze. She understood instantly that this door wasn't just a room, it was a wound. "He begged me to race that day," Martin continued. "I wasn't in the mood. I was tired, annoyed. I told him to go ahead without me. He never came home." He swallowed hard, forcing the memory out piece by piece. A truck ran a light. "He was gone before I got there." His jaw trembled. "I arrived just in time to see the wheel still spinning. Like the world didn't know it was done with him." Serena stepped closer but didn't interrupt. Martin's voice cracked. "I blamed myself. If I'd gone with him, maybe I could have stopped it. Maybe I could have saved him. Maybe he wouldn't have." He couldn't finish. He exhaled, shaky, and placed the key into the lock. The clicking sound echoed like a breaking bone inside his chest. The door opened. Inside, nothing had changed in 5 years. Posters of superhero bikes and racing champions were still taped to the walls. A gaming console sat paused mid-level. A trophy shelf gathered dust. And against the far wall stood a bike. Bright blue frame, one pedal scraped from impact, tires still firm. Martin stepped inside as if walking into a grave. Serena stayed near the doorway, letting him take the lead. He approached the bike and touched the seat with trembling fingers. "I locked this room because I couldn't face it," he said. "I shut everything out. Feelings, people, life. I thought if I didn't open this door, the pain would stay inside." He turned around, tears in his eyes. "But pain doesn't stay locked up, does it?" Serena finally moved to his side, slow and gentle. "No. It finds a way out," she said. "And most times, it breaks through when you're alone." Martin looked at her with raw vulnerability he'd never allowed anyone to see. He wasn't the billionaire CEO in that moment. He wasn't the man with answers. He was just someone who had lost too much. Serena reached out and took his hand, not out of sympathy, but connection. "You saved my son," she whispered. "You showed up when it mattered. You are not the same man you were back then." Martin leaned into that truth like a lifeline. His guard cracked fully. "I care about you," he admitted. "Both of you." He exhaled shakily. "I'm terrified, but I care." Serena's eyes softened. Tears slipped down, but she didn't look away. She tightened her grip on his hand. Before either could say more, small footsteps padded into the room. Will had wandered over with a piece of paper he'd been coloring with crayons from the kitchen drawer. He held it up with pride, a drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands beside a red bike. Above it, written in uneven blue letters, "Me plus Mom plus Martin equals family." Serena gasped softly. Martin froze, staring at the picture like it was a miracle he didn't believe he deserved. Will didn't notice their stunned silence. He simply walked up to Martin and lifted the drawing higher. "This is us," he said. "Right." Martin's heart felt like it collapsed and expanded at the same time. He knelt down to Will's level. His voice came out unsteady. I'd like that," he said. "Very much." Will beamed, threw his arms around Martin's neck, and squeezed with all his small might. Martin hugged him back instantly, closing his eyes, letting the contact break whatever walls were still standing. Serena watched them, her heart aching in the best way. She knew this man wasn't just trying to save Will. He was trying to save himself too. After a few minutes, Will pulled away and pointed at the blue bike. "Is that your brother's?" Martin nodded. "Yes." His name was Adam. Will stepped closer to the bike, curiosity shining. He touched the handlebar lightly. "It looks fast," he said. "It was," Martin replied, a sad smile forming. He loved speed. Will turned back to Martin. "I want to ride fast too." The sentence triggered every fear Martin still carried. But instead of saying no, he stood and took a deep breath. "We'll go slow at first," he said. "But when you're strong enough, I'll teach you how to go fast and safe." Serena's breath caught. It was more than a promise. It was healing in motion. Later, they moved back into the living room. Martin ordered dinner for all three of them. Pizza with extra cheese for Will, salad and chicken for Serena, and whatever the restaurant recommended for himself. Conversation flowed easier. Will told them about school. Serena teased him gently. Martin laughed more than he had in years. At some point, Will crawled into Martin's side on the couch, his head resting against Martin's arm. Serena watched, trying not to show how much the sight meant to her. When it was time to leave, Will hugged Martin again. Long, tired, full of trust. Martin knelt to hug him back, eyes closing as if holding on to something fragile but priceless. "Coach," Will whispered, "when can we ride tomorrow?" Martin smiled. "After school." "I'll be there." Will nodded, satisfied. Then, something unexpected happened. As Martin lifted him up to hand him to Serena, Will wrapped his arms around Martin's neck again and whispered softly in his ear, "Good night, Dad." "Not Coach, Dad." Martin's breath caught in his throat. His eyes filled instantly. He looked over Will's shoulder at Serena. She saw the emotion hit him, deep, overwhelming, and her heart cracked open too. Will didn't seem to realize the significance. He was already half asleep against Serena's shoulder. But Martin stood frozen in place, that single word echoing louder than any applause he'd ever received, louder than any deal he'd ever closed. Serena didn't correct Will this time. She didn't pull him away quickly. She held Martin's gaze. Her last wall lowered, not broken, just lowered enough to let someone in. And Martin stepped through that opening without hesitation. The next Saturday arrived with blue skies and a breeze that carried children's laughter across the park. Will stood beside his red bike again, hands gripping the handlebars. He looked healthier than he had on the day he collapsed. His breathing was steadier, his smile brighter. But everyone knew this wasn't just another ride. It was a test of his strength, of Martin's courage, of the future they were building together. Martin crouched to adjust Will's helmet, making sure every strap sat exactly right. He checked the wheels twice. He placed his hand on the bike seat like he was holding onto something precious. Serena stood a few feet away, watching both of them. Her heart beat fast, but she didn't step in. She trusted them. Will bounced on his toes, ready. "Coach," he said, "can I go fast today?" That question hit Martin harder than he expected. Fast meant danger. Fast meant losing control. Fast echoed with the memory of a blue bike and a brother who never made it home. His fingers tightened around the seat. His breath paused. Will's eyes lifted, searching Martin's face. "It's okay if we go slow," he said gently. "I just want you to be with me." Martin inhaled, steady but nervous. He wasn't just afraid of Will falling. He was scared of watching history repeat. But then he looked at Serena. She didn't say one word, yet her eyes told him everything. "You are not alone this time." He placed his other hand on Will's shoulder. "We'll take it one push at a time," he said. "And I'll be right here." Will nodded, excited again. Serena held back a tear. Martin walked behind Will as the bike rolled forward. He kept his hand gripping the seat. The path ahead curved around trees and an open field. Will pedaled slowly, focusing hard. His little legs pushed with effort. Martin jogged behind him, eyes never leaving the bike. After a few yards, Martin let go for just a second. The bike stayed upright. Will didn't realize it. He pedaled stronger. Martin smiled for a split second, until Will picked up speed. His heart jumped. His feet stumbled. He rushed forward and grabbed the seat again. "Easy," he said, voice rough. "I'm not letting you fall." Will turned his head slightly. "Promise." Martin steadied his breathing. "Promise." They continued, slow but steady. Each rotation of the wheels chipped away years of fear inside Martin. He didn't think about the accident anymore. He thought about this child choosing to trust him. He thought about the woman watching them with a hope she'd never admit. He thought about how showing up here mattered more than any deal he'd ever signed. They reached the end of the short path. Will put both feet down and look up. "How did I do?" Martin crouched beside him. "You were brave," he said. "And brave is stronger than fast." Will grinned so wide his cheeks pushed up the bottom edge of his helmet. He looked over to Serena and waved. She waved back, proud, relieved, grateful. After a rest, Will insisted on another try. "Let's go back," he said. "I can do it." Martin moved beside him again. They turned around. They went a little farther this time. Will's breathing held up better today, thanks to the medication. Every time Martin loosened his grip, Will balanced longer. The bike glided by itself for 2 seconds. Then 3. Then 5. Will giggled. "Did you see that?" "I did it." "You did," Martin said, breathless from running but smiling like he'd won something priceless. Serena clapped quietly from the bench. Her eyes weren't on Will, they were on Martin. On the way, he looked at her son. On the way, he showed up without hesitation. On the way, he was becoming someone she could rely on. She realized right then, this man wasn't just helping. He was invested. He wasn't a stranger anymore. He wasn't a temporary blessing or a nice gesture that would fade. He was taking ownership, not out of guilt, but love. Even Martin felt it. With every step he took behind the bike, he felt the old fear losing its grip. Pain was still there, but it wasn't steering anymore. Hope was. On their final run, Martin let go earlier than planned. Will rode freely for nearly half the path. He wobbled near the end and crashed softly into the grass, rolling to a stop. Serena gasped, but Will sat up laughing. Martin sprinted to him and helped him stand. "You okay?" he asked, checking him like he checked every detail of his life, intensely. "I want to do it again," Will said instantly, not afraid, not discouraged, just determined. Martin's chest warmed. This kid, this fearless kid. They sat in the grass afterward, catching their breath. Will leaned against Martin's arm. Serena joined them and sat on the other side. It felt like a picture of what life could be, if they both allowed it. Serena glanced at Martin. "He rode farther today than he has in months," she said softly. "That's all him," Martin replied. "Not all," Serena countered. "You carried a lot of fear for him today." Martin looked at her, surprised she could see straight into him like that. Serena continued, "You're not doing this because you feel guilty about the past. You're doing it because you love him." Martin didn't deny it. Serena's voice softened further. "And maybe because you love me too?" He didn't deny that either. Will held Martin's hand. "Coach," he asked quietly, "can you stay forever?" Martin's face changed, something deep shifting behind his eyes. That question cracked open a new kind of truth. He'd been showing up for weeks. He'd been acting like family long before he understood that's what he wanted. Now he understood. He squeezed Will's hand back. "I want to," he said. "I really want to." Serena's breath caught at those words. Martin looked at her and didn't look away. "I don't want this to be temporary," he added. "Not the rides. Not the visits. Not us." Serena blinked fast. She didn't speak, but he could read every thought in her expression. Is this real? Is this safe? Is this finally someone who won't walk away? Martin didn't wait for her to ask. He leaned closer and whispered, "Let me prove it." He stood up, helping Will to his feet. "How about pizza at my place tonight?" he asked. "And maybe we talk about making this official." Will cheered loudly. Serena hesitated, then nodded. That nod didn't just accept dinner. It accepted possibility. Martin smiled like a man stepping into a future he thought he'd lost forever. As they walked toward the car, Will raced ahead a little, pushing his bike next to him on the path. Martin and Serena followed, side by side this time. Martin had chosen courage over fear. Serena had chosen trust over doubt. Will had chosen both of them. But one question lingered, a question that would shape the rest of their lives. If love could bring them this far, what would they let it build next? Late in the afternoon, after Will's ride, Serena carried the bike inside Martin's car. Will kept talking excitedly from the back seat, explaining every turn he took like a commentator calling the race of his life. His energy filled the space. But Martin noticed Serena's quiet smile, the kind that meant her heart was full but also terrified of losing this piece. When they arrived at the building, Martin parked, then turned to them with a careful breath. "There's something I want to show you both. Just for a minute." Serena raised an eyebrow but nodded. They stepped into the elevator. Will pressed every button that lit up, giggling each time Serena told him not to, but without any real seriousness behind the warning. Martin watched them with a softness that felt new, a softness he wanted to keep. When the elevator doors opened, Serena stepped out and froze for a moment. She'd been here before, the night she saw Martin break. But tonight felt different. Tonight, he walked with purpose. He led them down the hallway until they stopped in front of a door that wasn't his penthouse, a different one on the same floor. He pulled a small box from his pocket, opened it, and held up a key. Then he placed it gently into Serena's hand. "This is yours," he said. If you want it. Serena stared at the key like it wasn't real. Martin, what are you talking about? He swallowed. You and Will deserve safety. You deserve space. You deserve somewhere you never have to leave because the rent is late or the world is too heavy. A home that's not temporary. Will's eyes widened. Like, we live here. Forever. Martin nodded. Forever sounds right to me. Serena took a step back, overwhelmed. Martin, this is too much. I've got a job. I can handle. He stepped closer. Not forceful. Just steady. You've been handling life alone for too long. Let me handle some of it with you. Her throat tightened. Words wouldn't come. Will reached up and tugged her sleeve. Mommy, we can stay with Dad, he whispered, as if speaking too loudly might make the dream disappear. Serena sank to her knees, cupping Will's cheeks. Tears slipped before she could stop them. Sweetheart, we don't want to be a burden. Martin lowered himself too, eye level with both of them. You are not a burden, he said. You are the reason I wake up wanting to do more, wanting to be better. You're the reason I stopped feeling alone in rooms full of people. And if you let me, I will spend my life proving that you belong with me. Her tears fell faster. She wiped them, embarrassed, but the tears kept coming. Martin continued, voice steady. I'm not asking you to depend on me. I'm asking you to let me be part of your life. To be someone Will can call for help in the middle of the night. To be someone who cheers at school events. To be someone who shows up. Every day. Will leaned toward Martin, hugging him with tiny arms that held surprising strength. You already show up, he whispered. Serena looked between them. Her heart was fighting a battle her head couldn't win. Fear said no. Love said yes. Martin reached gently for her hand, lifting her to her feet. If you don't want to decide tonight, that's okay. But I want you to know the door will always be open. Serena looked at the door. A door to a life where she didn't wake up afraid. A life where Will's future didn't depend on luck. A life where someone stood beside her. Finally, her fingers closed around the key. Soft CTA placement, as requested. If you're still watching this story, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the next chapter. Martin noticed the tears still falling and brushed one away with his thumb. Slow, gentle, and filled with respect. You're crying because you're finally allowed to feel safe, he said. Let that be okay. Serena shook her head, trying to speak, but the emotion tangled her voice. Instead, she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him. He held her like she was priceless. Because she was. Will pressed himself into the hug too, creating a shape that felt complete. A family in motion, even if the label wasn't said aloud yet. Slowly, Serena pulled back enough to look Martin in the eyes. You're not doing this out of guilt, she asked. No, he answered. I'm doing this out of love. Silence stretched for a heartbeat, the kind of silence that means everything. Then she leaned up and kissed him. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't confused. It wasn't an accident of emotion. It was a choice, a promise, a beginning. Martin held her waist gently, afraid to break the moment. Serena rested her forehead against his, breath mixing with his breath. She whispered, "Thank you for giving my son a future." He whispered back, "Thank you for giving me one too." Will groaned jokingly, "You," but he was smiling the whole time. Serena laughed through tears, a sound Martin wanted to protect for the rest of his life. He kissed her once more, small, sure, and full of meaning, before stepping back to look at both of them. "Welcome home," he said. Will cheered. Serena sighed, not in frustration, but in relief. She turned the key in her palm, holding it like the most valuable treasure she had ever received. As they stepped toward the new doorway, toward a life waiting to be lived, a question quietly settled in Serena's heart. How do you move forward when the future finally stops being frightening and starts being everything you ever hoped for? The next weekend arrived with a sky so clear it felt like the world was permitting them to breathe easier. Will stood proudly beside his red bike once again. He looked stronger now, thanks to the medication and the clean air in their new living space. His cheeks were full of color. His eyes looked fearless. "Ready?" Martin asked, holding the back of the bike lightly. Will shook his head with a grin. "Nope." Martin blinked. "You're not ready?" Will laughed. "I don't need help this time." Serena crossed her arms, pretending to be calm, but her smile gave her away. She trusted that moment too, even if her heart was beating double time. Will took a deep breath, planted his feet on the pedals, and pushed off. His legs pumped fast, and the bike picked up speed. Not the careful speed of a kid learning, the bold speed of someone who believed in himself again. Martin walked behind at first, but soon Will was too far ahead. He glided down the path like he'd been doing this forever. He didn't wobble. He didn't gasp for breath. He didn't look scared. He looked free. Will reached the open field, turned the bike with a smooth curve, and shouted across the park, "Dad, come watch me." The word hit like sunlight right to the chest. Not coach, not Martin, Dad. Martin froze. For a second, he couldn't breathe, not because of fear, but because of joy so strong it felt unreal. Serena stepped beside him, eyes shining. "He chose that," she said quietly. Martin's throat tightened. "He did." Then Will waved both arms wildly. "Come on, Dad. You're too slow." Martin laughed, a real laugh, the kind that made Serena's eyes warm. He kicked off into a run, faster than he had moved in years, chasing after Will with no fear of what could go wrong. Will pedaled hard, glancing back to make sure his father was watching. Martin cheered him on loudly, no embarrassment, no hesitation. Other parents stepped aside as he ran past, not understanding the magnitude of the moment. This wasn't just a child riding a bike. This was a child choosing family. This was a man claiming life again. When Will finally stopped, his bike tipped into the grass. He dropped it without caring and rushed into Martin's arms. Martin lifted him, spinning once before hugging him tight. "You did it," Martin said, voice shaking. "I did," Will replied proudly. Then he leaned close and whispered into Martin's ear like it was a secret only they were allowed to share. "I knew you wouldn't let me fall." Martin hugged him tighter. "Never," he said. "I'm never letting you fall." Serena walked toward them, watching the two most important people in her life become one in a single embrace. Every fear she once had, every moment she believed she'd have to walk life alone, eased just a little more. Will wiggled out of Martin's arms so he could stand tall beside him. "Mom!" he shouted. "Dad is faster than I thought." Serena laughed through her tears. "Good to know," she said. She walked up and touched Martin's arm, grounding both of them in the moment. Martin met her gaze. "Is this really happening?" he whispered. "It is," she answered. "And it's real." They watched Will get back on the bike and take another lap. Every push of his pedals felt like proof that miracles didn't always come wrapped in grand gestures. Sometimes they came in the form of a 6-year-old riding away from fear and toward a future he didn't have before. Martin slipped his hand into Serena's. She didn't pull away. "I spent so long shutting everyone out," he said quietly, "thinking I didn't deserve happiness. And now?" she asked. He looked out at Will. "Now I know happiness was waiting for me to show up." Will called again from across the park. "Dad, count how long I can go without stopping." Martin cupped his hands around his mouth. "I'm watching every second." Will pedaled faster, shouting the numbers as he passed each tree. Martin stood tall, shoulders back, no panic in sight, only pride. Serena leaned her head lightly against his shoulder. He turned to look at her, and she squeezed his hand. "You're a good man," she said. He let the words sink in because they were the hardest to believe, and the most important. "I'm trying," he replied. "You're doing," she corrected. "And that's what counts." Across the grass, Will shouted again, "Dad, I'm stronger than my asthma." Martin nodded, eyes watering. "Yes, you are. You're stronger than anything." Will took one more long loop. He slowed near the end, hopped off his bike, and ran back to them. He wrapped his arms around both adults at once, their first true family hug. They stayed like that for a moment, the three of them in a quiet bubble of safety and love. Then Will looked up and asked a question that wasn't just playful innocence. It was a hope he finally felt safe asking. "Do families get to stay together forever?" Martin looked at Serena. Serena looked at Martin. They both knew the answer they wanted to give. But could they promise forever yet? What if the past tried to interfere again? What if fear returned? What if love wasn't enough on its own? None of them spoke the answer aloud. Instead, the question hung gently in the air. What does it really take to become a family for life? The sun dipped low as they rolled down the path. Martin jogging beside Will, Serena laughing behind them. The red bike that once felt out of reach now carried a child who almost didn't make it. A man who once feared this moment now chased after it. A mother who once carried the whole world alone now shared the weight with someone who refused to let her struggle. The story started with a birthday wish they couldn't afford. A bike behind a store window. A mother trying her best. A boy holding on to hope. A man with money but no life in his heart. Now everything has changed. Martin doesn't see the accident anymore when Will rides. He sees a future. He sees courage. He sees the family he thought he would never deserve. Serena doesn't worry about tomorrow the same way she used to. She doesn't wonder if she's enough. Now she knows she is, and she has someone who reminds her when she forgets. Will doesn't ask for permission to dream. He rides like he belongs here, because he does. Sometimes, one birthday wish saves far more than just a child. It saves a man who was lost. It gives a mother hope, and it creates a family that never would have existed. Martin never planned to stop in front of that bike shop. Serena never planned to let a stranger in. Will never planned to call anyone dad. But love arrived anyway. 3 lives, rewritten. Because one boy refused to stop believing his birthday could still be special. And the truth is, we never know whose lives we might change when we choose kindness. One moment of compassion can rewrite a future none of us can see yet. If this story touched your heart, go ahead and subscribe to more powerful stories. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from and your age. We love seeing our community from all over the world. Come back tomorrow for another life-changing story. Your support helps us keep bringing you these stories.